Today on The Athlete's Mindset, I'm excited to welcome Caden Connor. Caden was more than just a teammate to me at Cal State Fullerton. He was a great leader and now a professional baseball player in the Chicago White Sox organization. From his development at Fullerton to being selected in the 2023 MLB draft, Caden has built a reputation as a consistent hitter with a disciplined approach and a strong feel for the game. Since entering pro ball, he's continued to prove he belongs, showing the kind of contact ability, competitiveness, and growth that organizations value. In this episode, we talk about his transition from college to professional baseball, how he's handled adversity and expectations, and the mindset that's helped him continue to improve as the competition gets tougher. We also dive into preparation, confidence, and what it really takes to develop as a hitter in the minor leagues. I'm excited for this conversation. Let's get into it. Caden, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Dude, I'm happy to finally have you on. It's been a while since we last talked. And even in the intro, I kind of just brought up how not only were you a great teammate, but a great friend at Fullerton, kind of like a leader to me. And that's where I want to start is at Fullerton. What went into your decision to going to Cal State Fullerton?
Yeah, man. Growing up in Orange County, that was like the Titan heyday. I go to games with my dad all the time, and I was really close to the head coach at the time, Rick Vanderhook. And so I was kind of implanted in my head that my dad was always say, you're going to go there and play. And high school came around and, was getting some interest. And, Hookie ended up coming to my house and offering me. And my parents jumped on the opportunity before even I could say yes. But it was so awesome being able to play at a school like that I grew up going watching. And, I was really blessed to be able to go there and meet great people and great teammates like yourself. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it firsthand with me. It's just like how hard college baseball can be of an adjustment, going from high school, even you like playing pretty high level high school baseball and then getting to Fullerton. What were some just kind of tips that helped you settle in and get comfortable playing without putting a whole bunch of pressure on yourself?
Yeah, man. Especially as a freshman, you realized it, and every freshman realizes it's like the game doesn't change. This gets a little bit harder. And like as a freshman, you go in there and you have to put such high expectations on yourself that sometimes that can affect your mental side and your play. The faster you can get past that, the better you'll be. I think sometimes like faking confidence is something that helped me. And it helped me play better and get past that freshman hump faster. So I think just believing in yourself and believing in your teammates is something I recommend because, playing scared is something no one wants to do, and it just causes you headaches and causes just being the player that you aren't. So
100%. I mean, I struggled with that every day. Like, I think I would let practice just, if I had a bad practice, bad BP, like it was in my dome. And that's all I was thinking about instead of just being confident and like believing in myself. And you were one of the most consistent guys I've ever seen in college baseball. How did you just like get over a bad day and stay consistent so often?
yeah, I just think being a competitor that I am, like Grant, like you saw it firsthand, like I dealt with failure in a different way than other people do. I wish I could just be so straight, nothing happened. But I think the culture that I grew up in and the culture that Fullerton is, as you saw, everyone is just so like headbutt and so competitive and wanting to do well. That is what drove me to get past the bad day. Um, But now, as I got into professional baseball, I've kind of had to take a step back and be a little bit more, um, s- not as hard on myself. But in
Mhm,
college, you only get so many opportunities. So
mhm.
I just kind of every day it was just like I need to get after it, and I think that's what helped me stay consistent. It was a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, but I think just being so competitive is what made me consistent.
100%. And honestly, I feel like I even saw this in you, and I kind of figured out when I got to Portland was you kind of have to just like not care, like not take things so deeply. I struggled with that at Fullerton where like I would have a bad BP and I thought Hookie was going home thinking how terrible I am. Like, and that was just not the case
Yeah.
whatsoever. How do you kind of just like not take things so deeply? Because you do a great job of it.
Yeah, I think just being lighthearted and just kinda walking around with confidence like we talked about, I
Mhm,
think especially for a guy like you play football and baseball in high school, and then you went to Fullerton, and it was the first time in your life you were playing 12 months of the year baseball,
mhm,
and sometimes I just try to remind you and, like, think to myself, like, you know, this is different for everybody, everyone's coming from a different path and different, background, so for me, like, just being confident and, like, not caring what they think
mhm,
is something that I took pride in, like, walking around like, I am, like, that good, but in a good way, not showing up your teammates or being a good teammate. Because I think being a good teammate is the most important thing that shows confidence in someone, so
yeah, I want to get into that and just kind of what characteristics you think make a good teammate and a leader. But before that, I always loved how just like cocky we kind of were around each other. Like you would get out of the cage and be like, I'm the best, dude. Like I rake. And it was just like, it was
that's
so arrogant, but like I loved it. And I thought that was just like a fun joke that we had. And Jackson was the same way, where it was just
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like no one can touch me, dude. You wish you had juice like this. Do you still kind of have that mind, like that idea and mindset?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's only gotten a little a little bit worse as time's gone on. I've gotta take a step back a little because my team I'm around, all these guys now that are just absolute dogs, but I will say, like, Jackson kinda, took
Mhm,
that shell off of me, when I was a freshman.
mhm,
He was kinda walking around, and he kinda installed that in me, and then all of a sudden, I started becoming like that, then all of a sudden, when you came in, Bobo came in, all those guys, they started
mhm.
walking around like that, and, we didn't have the success we wanted there
Mhm,
when you were there, but then I think my last year, that's when, people like Nate Nankiel, everyone started kinda being confident, and then that's
mhm.
when everyone kinda started coming into their own, but it was really cool seeing guys like you and everyone, you know, starting to be like that because it's contagious, I think that's what makes a good team.
100%. Like, I remember just checking in with Brendan and Nate, like, during that year you guys made a regional, and even Nate was just like, "Yeah, dude, I'm raking." And I'm like, "Nate, you've never said
Yeah.
more than 3 words to me, and now you're, like,
Yeah.
just
You
this
became a different
cocky
person.
guy." And I
Yeah,
just
and
thought it
now
was
all of a
sick, and
sudden
yeah, I absolutely love that, just, like, about you and how you instilled that in me is just, like, kinda walk around like you're the man.
yeah.
And you like you said, it's contagious, so kind of along with that, what do you think makes, like, a really good teammate?
Yeah, man, I think someone that's always gonna be the same when they're 4 for 4 or 0 for 4.
Mhm,
I think being a good teammate's not hard. It's like being a good person, you just wanna
mhm,
treat others the way you wanna be treated, and I think good things happen to good people, like good
mhm,
teammates lead to success on the field, not everyone's gonna play every day. It's how you root for others is, you know, shows. It's like caring so much about, yourself and, if you're selfish, then like what's the fun of that? Like I did good, but we
mhm,
lost. So like what
mhm,
was the whole point of, going 3 for 4 if we lost? Um, you know, something I realized my last year at Fullerton, we started winning and stuff is like I was like, "Wow, like, I really don't care if I go 0 for 4 right now. If we win the game, that's all that matters."
mhm,
But I think just being a good teammate, like, just leads to more fun happening around and, like, you're not showing up to the field every day, like, miserable. Like, no one wants to be miserable. Everyone wants to be showing up to work because playing baseball in college is work, going to
mhm.
baseball now is work. Everyone wants to show up happy, and that leads to success, so
I fully agree. I felt the same way, and also when you're, like, are rooting for other guys, it makes it so much easier to go, like, I had a bad day, I went 0 for 3, 0 for 4, but, like, my boy just went 3 for 4 and had the day of his life,
yeah.
and we can celebrate that, and then when you get in the locker room after the game, especially, we've known guys who we'd win, and we'd get in the locker room, and everyone's excited, fired up, and there's that one guy that went 0 for 4 who's just not talking to anyone, and you're just like, "Dude, you're just bringing down the whole vibe." And so I really appreciate how
Yeah.
you've said like be supportive of like your guys and like celebrate those little victories because it's a grind.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, especially now, like you play every single day. So you can't go to the field expecting to go 4 for 4 every single day. That's
Mhm.
just clearly impossible. I would be in the big leagues right now if that was the case. So
Yeah.
um it's funny because like in college, every game matters because you only play 56 of them.
Mhm.
Whereas now I play 140 plus.
Mhm.
So it's like different mindsets going into it. But college, it's more team oriented, you know, being, you're with each other every single second of the day, grinding through stuff you would never do outside of being in college. So it's like you truly start caring more for these people because you hang around these guys more than you hang around your family or friends that you never see them. So
What 100%. I want to transition now into you're a professional baseball player. What was that experience like when you got drafted to the White Sox?
yeah, man, it was pretty cool. My whole life I've been, the undersized but like always very talented. And then I got high school as a late recruit, and then I got to Fullerton, and things started, being great for me. And
Mhm.
getting drafted is just a showing of like all the hard work I put in and my teammates put in for me, and my coaches that I've had growing up, and my dad, my mom, my brother. Um, it was pretty cool. And then, it settled in after that. The day after I got drafted, it's like, all right, like now it's time to really put in the work. Like
Mhm.
the hard stuff hasn't even begun yet. So
Yeah. When did it hit you that you were a professional baseball player? Like, when was, like, the moment where you're like, "Oh, this isn't college anymore?"
yeah, I think probably when I got on the plane to go, um, when I got on the plane to go, I had to go to North Carolina first for like a draft camp. On the way
Mhm.
there, I was just sitting and kind of reflecting. I'm like, oh my gosh, like my life is completely different now. So
Mhm.
that's kind of when it sit in. And then, you walk in that clubhouse and you're meeting, you know, it was like 30 guys in the draft class. And then, you're meeting all these Latin players that are, this is their lives, So now
Mhm.
it's like, holy cow, I'm around a different locker room I've ever been in my entire life. So I think that's when it really hit in and was like, wow, like this isn't, California anymore. I'm
Mhm.
in a different ball game now. So
Yeah, you kinda go from being a, you know, big fish in a small pond, like, in the Big West, like, you were just a dude, to now you're a small fish in a big pond, and, like, you gotta find your way up. What have
yeah.
been some of the biggest adjustments from college baseball to professional baseball, just from, let's say, a hitting aspect?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I think the velocity is different. In the Big West, it's like 90, 93. A couple guys are going to be mid 90s, but now it's like everyone's mid 90s, touching triple digits. That's probably been my first year. That was the biggest adjustment. And then, hitting wise, every day is different. You feel good one day and the next day you don't. So like mentally, like, I can go into a game and I felt like crap going in, from batting practice to the game, and then I'm like, "Shoot, I gotta who cares how you feel? You gotta go in there and you're competing for your job every single day." So, mentally, it's like I gotta be ready with what I got. So
100%. Kind of along with that, the mental grind of, you have to find a way to be successful even when you're not feeling great. What are some other mental adjustments you kind of faced, getting into pro ball? Because in college, it's pretty easy when you get hot and you're just feeling like the man and you're hitting. I mean, you hit over 320 for 3 years in a row. Like, it's pretty easy just to feel confident. What were some other mental adjustments?
yeah, I just think, mentally, like earlier how you said you had a bad BP and everyone's staring at you, you think.
Hmm.
Just like getting over that is like when I first got drafted, I'm taking batting practice. I think it's life or death,
Hmm.
and really they don't care. Like I could have a bad round and like nobody cares, but when you're thinking, you're like, dang, like, am I gonna get released because I just had a bad, game or something
Yeah.
when you first get there. But then, it goes back to the confidence, now you have a good game. Now, how can I build off that? It's the
Hmm.
adjustments, it's the mental side. I could go 0 for 4, but I had 3 really good at bats. That's another mental part of it where, in college, you go 0 for 4, it doesn't matter. It,
Yep.
it matters, like it's towards your stats. Here, it's like you have 600 plate appearances a year. Whereas, like, I went 0 for 4, but I felt good, and I'm gonna build off that going into tomorrow. So that was an adjustment for sure. Realizing that not every single game I need to go out there and do something. Um, and the faster I got over that, the more success I've had, and I felt that's the biggest adjustment also hitting wise for sure.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough game and it's a long season, which I kind of want to get into is how do you stay just like even keeled, not, ride the roller coaster of getting too high, getting too low? Because when you play pretty much every single day, it's easy to get into a slump and get in your own head, but it's also easy to just recognize, all right, I can't let this day affect this whole week. How do you stay kind of even keel throughout a whole season?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Like, you have a bad day and you go home and you obviously human nature, you're just like, dang, that today really sucked. But I think for me, it's like, how can I make lighthearted out of it and attack tomorrow better? Um, because obviously everyone fights with, dealing with failure different. And for me, I get upset and then you know what? All right, once 12 o'clock hits, it's over. And now I'm attacking tomorrow like I went 4 for 4 the day before. Um, and obviously things change as, you go 4 for 4 the next day, you're gonna show up to the ballpark a little pep in your step differently than when
Yeah,
you went 0 for 4, but it's like, how can I attack each day like I went 4 for 4 even if I didn't go
I love
that
that
day?
mindset. Yeah, I think that's a great way to go about it. And it's just like it's believing in yourself even when, maybe you feel like you shouldn't. You don't feel like you should have all that confidence. One thing I've noticed about you at Fullerton was you take in a lot of information. Like when it comes to your swing, you're always, very analytical, getting everything right, making adjustments. How do you make little adjustments without like overloading yourself with information?
Yeah. I think for me, it's like, how can I always be on time? I don't like to think too much mechanically, but I also wanna feel like, how can I move my body the best that I want it to be, without thinking too much up here? Because if you go up to the box facing 100 miles an hour with a clogged up mind, you're already beat walking up to the
You have no
box.
shot.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, no chance, like, 0 chance. It's like, how can I, once it's 7 o'clock and it's first pitch, like, no more thinking. Like, I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna compete my ass off to be better than that guy standing on the mound because that guy standing on the mound is getting in my way to where I want to go and what my dreams and aspirations is to be a big leaguer. Um, so it's just like, sometimes I feel like crap. I'm gonna be fake confidence. I'm walk up there. I'm like, I got this. So just, not thinking too much and, the adjustments, like you said, mechanically and all that is for, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock before the game. I am in the cage or taking batting practice. That's when I'm figuring out what I got going in for that game. So,
I love that. I think that's perfect. Kind of talking about when you get in the box, what is your approach? So, like, what are you kind of looking for? What pitch? You know, I know you always talk about being on time is the most important, but what's kind of your zone or your thought process in the box?
yeah, man. I mean, I think just seeing something out over the plate and, I'm swinging at strikes and taking the balls, like, especially now, whereas in college, they didn't talk about it much, but now in professional, it's huge, like walking, OPS, all that stuff. Um, so it's really just like staying disciplined to what I do best, and that's getting on base, high average, and working on getting the power. But for me, it's like my approach bases off each, is there runners in scoring position? Do I need to be aggressive? If I'm leading off inning, I need to get on base, So I think it just varies for me personally of what I want to do. But it always just comes down to like you said earlier, it's just being on time and that's all you can really go up there asking for. If I can have a good at bat and hit the ball well, if it lands, so be it. If it gets caught, that sucks.
Today's episode is brought to you by Relight Hydration, my go to for staying fueled and refreshed. As a former athlete, I know how important it is to stay hydrated. And Relight makes it simple with clean ingredients and essential electrolytes. My two favorite flavors lemon lime for that crisp, classic kick, and mixed berry when I want something a little sweeter. Whether it's before a workout, during a long day, or after training, Relight keeps me going. You can try it yourself and get 15% off with my code Athletes Mindset at checkout. That's Athletes Mindset for 15% off at Relight. Stay sharp, stay hydrated. I mean, I think that's a way to just put it simple and not overthink about it too much. How do you stay present throughout? We talked about how it's a long season, but there's so much of, like, when am I going to get called up? Like, am I going to make the big leagues? Like, there's so many just like doubts that I think a lot of guys have in their head. How do you stay present and just like in the moment and appreciate like where you're at now?
Yeah, for sure. I think, it's funny when you graduate and you go on and you have buddies you grew up with that didn't get to go play college or whatever. Sometimes I just find myself like, dang, dude, I get to do this for my job. Like, it's pretty cool. And,
Hmm.
I've had teammates in the past that, they wish they could be where in the shoes that I'm in. And, so for me, it's like that's what keeps me going. And every day it's like I can't control what the front office decides on me. I can only control what effort and attitude I bring to the field every single day. And I think that's something my dad instilled in me is like the only thing you can control is your effort and your attitude every single day. Um, and sometimes, your attitude, you're going to be pissed off. You're going to be upset because baseball is such a mind game that it's really hard. But one thing, my whole life is like, how hard am I going to play every single pitch at bat? My hard 90 down the line. So that those are the small things, is just like staying present every single day, like the three things you can control.
100%. I mean, that's the best way to put it. And there's so many young guys that I think get away from that, especially in college where you think it's a grind, you're miserable. And then you just realize like, okay, I'm playing baseball with some of my best friends. And there's no
Yeah.
reason that I should be thinking this is awful because I can confidently tell you that playing baseball is a lot more fun than working a 9 to 5.
Absolutely.
Um, so that you're in the off season right now, what are just some things that you're kind of working on this off season?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I played in the Arizona Fall League, so my off season got cut a little bit shorter. So from November 15th to, a couple weeks from now, I'll be headed back to Arizona. So I've been working on, my movement, my swing. I was lucky enough to work on that playing games in Arizona. So that was good for me. And then, just getting my body stronger and being ready to go play another 145 games because I mean, I don't wanna be hurt, I wanna play every single day while I'm out there, so just taking care of your body right now is the biggest part leading up to the season, and, so just getting stronger, gaining some weight is for sure a positive aspect I've been working on, and getting more mobile, is another aspect I'm working on too right now.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say it before, but congratulations on playing in the fall league. That's so sick. I mean, I know Max, who I've talked to, was also in the fall league, and it was a great experience for him and loved it. And it pretty much just shows that your organization thinks you're a guy of the future. What was that experience in the fall league like?
Yeah, man, it was pretty cool playing against guys, I've played in college or, never played with. They're on the same team as me. You're with 5 or 6 different organizations playing together. It was fun. And, it's pretty laid back. You're there to work on things, get better, and also it's I mean it's a great opportunity for yourself to put yourself in a better situation than what you're in, and it's only a positive thing to be in that too. So it was a great experience. I was lucky and blessed to be a part of it. So yeah.
That's so cool. Um, so, what are some goals going into next season? You've still maintained that consistency, limited the strikeouts like I've always seen. What are some things you're working on and goals for next season?
Yeah, man. I think just like you said, being present where I'm at, not thinking too much of like where I'm gonna be, how can I get to the big leagues as fast? Because I feel like when that stuff happens, you start not playing well, like we talked about earlier. That's definitely a goal, is like just staying present in every day I'm at, wherever I'm at, if that's double A, triple A, big leagues, whatever that is. And then, just consistently, how consistent can I be at the plate and on defense? For me, it's like, how can I contribute the most to the team? What do they need me to do? What position do they need me to play? Those are goals that I'm taking. And obviously, I mean, the goal is to get to the big league. So obviously, that's the main goal. But you know, whatever happens, happens. So
Absolutely. I love it. I end every conversation with the same question. If you could go back and give your younger self just one piece of advice, in regards to the mental game, let's say we're talking to freshman year Caden at Cal State Fullerton, what would that advice be?
Yeah. Goodness, freshman year. Like you said, just like not caring so much about everything and like if I wish I could um get past mentally the bad days, you know? When
Mhm,
you're a freshman, you're competing against 22, 23-year-olds and you're 19 years old. Um and I was lucky in that I got past that hurdle quick, but I do
mhm,
recall times when, I was a freshman playing we were playing at the University of Texas and I'm you know, in the dugout before the game, just absolutely nervous as anyone would be.
mhm,
Compared to when you're a senior, you're like, all right, I'm ready for this. So
mhm,
freshman year, I wish, I was like, I'd have a little more FU attitude
mhm,
than I did. Um, but just enjoying the moment, enjoying the grind of being, a freshman. You're gonna get picked on, you're gonna have bad days where the coach yells at you, you're gonna,
mhm,
that's attitude that I like you were really good at. You said you were thinking that, but you were really good at, absorbing information and just,
mhm.
applying it to the next day. And I think that's something I wish I was a little bit better at. But yeah, just not caring about what people think. That's what I would tell any freshman now. Like, who cares what your coach says? Like, in one year, out the other. Just go out there and be you, and you got there for a reason. Now,
Mhm.
just you got to keep playing like that. So that's definitely what I would say.
I love it. That's great advice. And I think everyone needs to hear it. It's not that deep. It's not life or death every day. A bad BP means nothing. So, I love it. I appreciate you, man. I'm rooting for you this upcoming season. And yeah, thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, bro. Of course. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you again to Caden for sharing his journey and insight into the mental side of the game. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who would find it valuable. Thanks for tuning in and keep moving forward. Until next time.